Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. Well, the Cleveland Browns are in the exact same spot they were after the opening game of this season. They had lost to a very good Baltimore team, then beat up on Cincinnati and then Washington. All they are going to do is duplicate that schedule, and they're right back in the hunt. Don't let your playoff hopes get dashed before you get to the halfway point. The NFL is a tough place to play, and the Browns have proven it every week since 1999. Bud Shaw is here tonight. More sports and Les Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Monday night. It's a brand new week. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine. Of course, right here on cleveland.com. Bud Shaw is with us. Bud, how about that start yesterday? And I'm talking about the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, I figured you didn't want to talk about the Browns this early in the show.
Well, we may as well. What the heck? Some stuff happened. What was that all about? Any idea?
Um, I hate to make it sound like it was predictable because I didn't expect that they would lose by that many points. But I certainly didn't think they could win that game. And in looking at the schedule, I didn't think it would be reason for alarm if they didn't win the game. I'm a little more concerned about how they lost the game, but I still come back to the fact that over the next five opponents are the Bengals, Raiders, Texans, Eagles, and Jaguars. So they have a run of five games against teams that they should be able to compete with or beat before they have to go down to Tennessee and play a good Titans team.
All right, so they played a game yesterday, and obviously Baker Mayfield was not at his physical top performance level. So the question is this: did Stefanski learn anything by this? Is there a point where, as a rookie coach or even a second or third year coach, where you say to yourself, "All right, he's not at his best right now, and we could hurt him for the rest of the year. Let's just let him sit down. If we take a loss, we take a loss, and then move on without him." Or don't you do that?
Well, I'm not sure you do that. I mean, if he's cleared to play, if you're getting good reports from the doctor, from team physicians, and I realize he didn't practice the whole week, and you're seeing enough of what he can do in practice, and you've been running the ball as effectively as you have, realizing again that Nick Chubb wasn't part of that yesterday. I could see why they would decide to let him start. I mean, he is the franchise quarterback right now, and he's a guy that I'm sure was telling them that he thought he could play well enough. And I don't know, Les. In looking at the first interception, is that a rib problem or a reading coverage problem? It looked more like a
Yeah,
reading
that was a
coverage.
reading coverage foul. He never saw that linebacker. I don't think.
Yeah,
I mean, he threw the ball with pretty good authority on that. If that's what you're asking about the rib
yeah,
situation.
exactly.
All right, so we didn't see enough of Case Keenum to people jump on his bandwagon yet. Thank goodness. That's the last thing you need at this point.
Yeah, I don't listen. I know Stefanski was asked today if he was going to go forge ahead with Mayfield, starting, and I think that would be a big mistake right now for a first year head coach and a first year staff putting in a new offense and making a quarterback change this early in a season, especially when a team is sitting there at 4-2. If they were 1-5, if they were 2-4, and Mayfield had just been terrible in every game, I think it would be a different situation.
It seems to me if somebody's on the block, it would have to be the special teams coach, Prefer. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
that's
been. I
certainly
think
not.
this is his third year, and they've been. I don't care what the numbers say. They've been terrible each year. 216 five
Over these
seven
last
five zero
couple
four zero
years when
three.
Chris Tabor was there.
Go say it again, Bud.
No, I'm saying we keep expecting that to get better over the last few years, even predating when Chris Tabor was here, and it never seems to become a strength of this team. The best we've been able to see over the last few seasons, at least, is that if it hasn't hurt them. But they've gone whole seasons now with getting almost nothing out of their punt
Yeah.
return team.
Going
That can help them a lot, especially in games that are going to be close down the stretch here if they have aspirations of making the playoffs.
going back to the game itself, did you get the feeling that Mike Tomlin was just playing with the Browns, just having a good old time, and knew he had command of the game all the way?
No, I just think he knew, what we all who thought that they had really proven something over the last 4 weeks. And I think we were saying that based on the strength of the offensive line and the way the offensive line had played both in run blocking and in protecting Mayfield. I think what Tomlin knows as a defensive coach is where to push and prod to find those weak spots and confuse not only Mayfield with some of their defensive linemen, but probably confusing an offensive line that was missing Wyatt Teller. So that's a very good Pittsburgh defense. I heard the stat that they're 5-0 for the first time since '78 when they won the Super Bowl. I'm not sure I'm ready to pronounce them Super Bowl favorites in the AFC, but it's certainly a very good team.
No, but they got to be in the hunt.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd put them, Baltimore, and Kansas City, off the top of your head, and you couldn't go wrong of picking one of those teams to come out of it.
Most of us think or did think that the Browns would be a playoff contender. Then you read off the names of those teams, and they can't compete with those guys.
No, but there is that extra spot this year in the playoffs, and I do think that the schedule. I just read those next 5 opponents, Les, and then beyond that, I think we still have the Browns playing the Jets and Giants. So it's a schedule that's built for a rebuilding team to step out beyond mediocrity for once in 20 years and do something. And I still wouldn't rule out that possibility. I still think that they're a very good possibility for a playoff spot.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show at reallesLevine@gmail.com. The Browns getting ready to take on Cincinnati. Cincinnati's come back to where they should be, I think, but that makes them a dangerous team because the Browns aren't in any position to on paper put anybody away.
No, I agree. And my wife grew up in Indianapolis, so that game was also on TV here yesterday, and I got to watch a little bit of the Bengals, who were in that right up until the end. So I in past years, this is where the Browns have gotten themselves in trouble. They lose a game, they don't get beyond it. Last year it was a win over Baltimore, then they go to San Francisco and they get beat 31-3, and that starts a downward spiral. The important thing here is coming back from this loss as dominant as Pittsburgh was, and not letting that become a 2 or 3 week downturn for these guys. So if they come out of Cincinnati 5-2, people can look at the schedule all they want and say, well, they haven't beaten anybody. But listen, look what happened yesterday to the Vikings playing Atlanta at home. Look what happened to Green Bay playing Tampa. So those teams looked every bit as bad, probably with less reason to than the Browns did yesterday.
You mentioned Tampa Bay. Who would have thought Tampa Bay would be the center of the sports world between hockey and going to the World Series and now Tom Brady, and they're starting to play pretty well.
Yeah, they are. Belichick's. Nobody is going to say that Brady was more important than Belichick in New England. I think most people would say that they probably shared that distinction. But certainly, Patriots are 2-3. Probably not fair to judge them since they lost Newton for a game through COVID issues. But you just see what a quarterback can do for an organization. Even a 43. What is he? 43 now.
Yeah.
He's gonna lift them up. I'd be surprised if they don't make the playoffs out of the NFC.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Usually when Bud's on, the calls come rolling in after the bottom of the hour. So if you'd like to get in now, you could do that. Lines are wide open for you if you'd like to get in and talk to Bud Shaw. We're going to take a break, and we'll come on back. We'll take your calls. We'll take your emails. We'll take your whatever. We'll do it right here. And more sports and less Levine right here with cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions, or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Do you like Ohio State football? Would you like to get information from me, Doug Lesmerises, about Ohio State football without having to look at my face? We have got the plan for you. Become an Ohio State text subscriber through cleveland.com. You send a text, 614-350-3315. What do you get? 2, 3, 4 texts right in your phone every day about Ohio State football. Inside information, polls, voting, all kinds of things. You can be on our podcast. We take text subscriber questions on our Buckeye Talk podcast every week. If you really want to be involved with Ohio State football, in season or out of season, become an Ohio State text subscriber from cleveland.com. Send a text to 614-350-3315. 14-day free trial. What do you have to lose? $3.99 a month after that. 614-350-3315. I'll see you in your phone.
Tri-C is here for you. Now more than ever, you need a post-secondary education. So I encourage you to start your journey here at Tri-C. The majority of fall classes will take place online, but we've added a variety of formats to meet your learning needs, and we've taken many steps to keep you safe on campus. Whether you're ready to get started or your four-year plans have changed, Tri-C is where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I wouldn't say he's putting any extra pressure on himself. We're looking for winning performances from all of our guys. Baker, I think, has won some games here, protecting the ball, getting explosives when they're there, scrambling for a first down. So there's things that you can do to affect the game and get a W. And just got to make sure that we double down on those.
Thanks. Mary Kay Cabot, you're up.
Yeah, Coach, just wondering, and I think I've asked you this before, but how do you walk that fine line with a young quarterback of maintaining his aggressiveness and letting him take those shots that we've all seen him make some amazing plays before, and yet, not throw the interceptions and not have that in his head that, I can't throw a pick here. How do you get through some of that?
Yeah, Mary Kay, that's a fine line, you're right, between aggressive and smart. And that's why you got to work really hard during the week. Understanding where you are in the game a lot of times is when you can let it rip and take a shot in a certain area. You think about those 2-minute drives where, sometimes you got to fit a ball in a tight window because it's 3rd and 10 and you must have it. Other times a check down's the answer. So I think that's just part of playing the position and understanding what the moment in the game calls for.
And he blamed himself for holding the ball too long. I know you put a lot of yesterday on yourself and the scheme, but he talked about, that he held the ball too long. Did you notice that when you went back and rewatched the film?
No, I think there's a couple. We're obviously going to coach every player on every play and tell them what they could have done differently. So there's, of course, plays that he could have done something differently. But again, our plan was to keep him clean, and we didn't do that.
Thank you.
Joe Ryder, your line's open.
I was just going to ask you about that, Kevin. How much of Baker's performance yesterday, after going back and looking at the film, do you put on protection and him feeling insecure back there with the ball?
Yeah, I wouldn't use that term, Daryl, but I just think, it's always a combination of things. There's never one answer on a lot of this. So for us, what we're doing today is saying, all right, here was the play call. Was that a great play call? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And then on the ones maybe when it wasn't a great play call, was there a play to be had? Was there somebody that should have gotten open? Could we have sustained our block one extra second? Those type of things. So I think it's a combination of all things.
Well, Bud, last week, a lot of talk, premature talk, I believe, about Stefanski being coach of the year. They forgot to look at, who else they played along, on the way there. But did you get a sense that he's learned anything? In a loss, you usually learn more than you do in a win. Have you sensed that he learned something yesterday?
Well, I gave him credit. I don't know about yesterday yet, Les. I think we need to see what they do when they come out against Cincinnati, a team that doesn't have the record, doesn't have the reputation that Pittsburgh has. Let's see how they put this behind them and come out, because I think that's usually a reflection on how the head coach has steered things during the week. But I think it's a positive that they got it handed to him on that first week against Baltimore, and they didn't let it become something where that spiraled, where they all started questioning the direction of the organization and all that stuff. So I give him credit already. Up until yesterday, I don't think he gave us reason to question why he held on to play calling duties along with being head coach. Yesterday wasn't his finest day in that regard, but I think he's also blaming himself for things that might not be all his fault, but he's trying to protect his players right now.
Right. I think most coaches or quarterbacks or leaders of teams, they understand what one loss is, but they don't want the one loss to turn into two or maybe three. And I'm just wondering if that's a possibility here with Stefanski. If he doesn't get the ship straight here, does that, as you suggest, does that mean some of the guys will be jumping ship?
Well, I think what he has to in his favor that other guys haven't had for a long time here is, what was the stat we were talking about yesterday, Les, that they hadn't been 500 in any season since whenever, or above 500 in any season.
07.
Yeah, since 07. So all of those coaches that got off to those slow starts, the ones that were new and had no track record with players, I think were immediately behind behind the eight ball a little bit in proving that they were the right guy for the job. I think Stefanski's had such a good start that he's already got that kind of capital with his team, that they understand that he's a pretty good coach right now and that the staff has got it together, especially with all the challenges that they had to overcome in the summer.
But we should put a stop on Coach of the Year talk at this moment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, like I said, I still think, and I don't know if you agree with me, Les, I still think that this is a team that's going to battle for a playoff spot. And you can say, well, that's because the record's not, or the schedule's not great and there's an extra spot. Okay, but all those things are, they're not important. What's important is getting into the playoffs, establishing yourself as a playoff team, and then you come back the next year if you happen to fizzle in the playoffs and you have something to build on. Yeah. I mean, when has this team ever last had something to build on? I mean, even Romeo's year with 10-6, they didn't have the benefit of getting into the playoffs that year.
Well, it seems to me that if the league says they're in the playoffs, they're in the playoffs.
What do you mean?
Well, you can say, well, they got in because they had less games or more openings to get into the playoffs. Yeah, well, it was deemed that way by the league, so therefore it is what it is.
It should be held against them that they qualified for, a spot that may have not have been there. Because knowing what this league is about, that spot's probably going to be there for the rest of our lives, right? They're not going to go back.
No, they're not taking it back.
But, the other thing I want to mention, Les, is that, we talked about the challenges that every organization in the NFL was facing because of the COVID crisis, because there was no preseason, all of that. And we all agreed, I think, that the teams that have been together longer with established quarterbacks that had performed well, had the same coaching staff, were playing in the same offense, had their identity established already, that those teams were probably going to benefit most in a year that is going to tax a lot of organizations in a lot of different ways. And the fact that they haven't been able to handle Baltimore and Pittsburgh so far, and I realize part of it is the size of the loss, the margin of the loss in both cases. But I'm not totally surprised by this. And the fact that they won 4 other games, I think, is still something they should be commended for.
All right, so going on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, what's your confidence level with Kevin Stefanski and his play calling?
Well, I still think it's pretty high. And, we saw him go into Pittsburgh, which is a really tough place to win against a team that is probably better than we even know yet this season. And he did it without Nick Chubb and with a quarterback who was, coming off an injury. So I'm not questioning Stefanski based on one bad loss. And I know they've had 2 bad losses, but I think he rebounded from the first one well enough that I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt now that he can do the same after this one.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot, who will be here tomorrow night, is now reporting that David Njoku is seeking a trade. Where we heard that one before. Njoku, though, the tight end, is denying it on Twitter. Where there's smoke, there's fire, though, right?
Well, I'm always curious to look at the wording of such things. Njoku says he didn't tell her anything about wanting to be traded. There are other ways that reporters can find out whether someone still wants to be traded or not without hearing it directly from the players. So I don't know what the dynamics were there or what that conversation, how it played out, if there was one. But it wouldn't surprise me.
216-575-0403. Bud Shaw is with us. Email us during the show at reallesslevine@gmail.com. Northeast Factory Direct, 3 great locations in addition to the website. You want to check them out. West 140th Street near the airport, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, and Freeway Drive, that's in Macedonia. Northeast Factory Direct. More Sports and Les Levine continues in a moment with Bud Shaw. We are powered by cleveland.com.
Transform your home for the holidays with an authentic Nature Stone garage floor. No more tripping on cracked, uneven concrete. Stop slipping on puddles and standing water. It's the safer, more beautiful garage floor that's easy to clean and never needs replaced. That's why it's backed by Russell's Promise. For a limited time, get more Nature Stone than ever before with up to half your garage floor free. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com to qualify for your free flooring. It's not just a floor.
Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
I think we got away from a lot of things that we were doing to win some ball games. And if you don't play clean on the road against a good team, you're not going to come away with a victory. And I think there were a bunch of areas that I can point to that we can do better. You mentioned not taking the ball away. I mean, that is part of who we are, and we didn't do it yesterday. So that will be the focus for us moving forward.
Yeah, Kevin, the Pittsburgh and the Baltimore games kind of went the same way. Does it give your team and give you confidence that you guys, when this happened earlier this season, you bounced back in such a positive way, including your quarterback who played his best game of the year, coming off the Baltimore performance? And by the way, you're playing the same team that you did after the Ravens game.
I think that's such a big part of the NFL season, Jake, is you're going to lose some games. I mean, that's not many teams go 16-0. So what do you do with those losses? What do you learn from them? How do you respond? And I think we've already started talking about that, on the sideline as the seconds were ticking off, talked about it in the locker room after the game, talked about it this morning, because this is what you do in the National Football League. You come back after a loss and you try to get better from it.
There you have Kevin Stefanski talking. He's almost talking himself up as much as he is the players. It sounds like
Talking himself up.
Yeah, I think he's trying to give himself a little bit of a pep talk here, because that was.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't think that was expected by him. I think that he thought he could compete with Tomlin, and obviously for one day he couldn't.
Yeah, listen, every coach that comes into this town, they can act like the past doesn't mean much. They can act like every week is just as important as division rival weeks. But he knows what Baltimore and Pittsburgh, who he has to compete with to win a division here, and that's really the ultimate goal. Eventually, is to win a division, and you got to hope that you have the right kind of the right quarterback to help you do that. And I don't know that they don't yet. I heard a couple of national analyst takes on Mayfield, questioning whether he's very good at reading defenses or not. And maybe that's not going to change. The fact that he still may have trouble seeing over the defensive line or the offensive and defensive lines because he's not the tallest guy. But none of us were talking about that during those 4 weeks when he was getting 100, plus quarterback ratings. So I just think we need to wait with it being yet another offense, yet another head coach, yet another offensive coordinator. That the fair thing to do is to wait until the end of this season and evaluate. Now, I know we're going to talk about it between now and then, but I wouldn't jump to any big conclusions quite yet, is what I'm saying.
No, I wouldn't either, but you look at if that was the game plan, if the game plan was executed the way it was supposed to be, you telling me they weren't going to be aiming for OBJ?
Yeah, you mean defensively or?
No, I mean the Browns offensively looking for him somehow. He had to be part of the game plan. If you don't have Chubb and you have an injured quarterback, you got to find a way to get the ball to the playmakers that are left.
Yeah, I mean that's why I didn't question that call late in the game a couple weeks ago where they hand off to him in the backfield. OBJ almost gets hit at that point, but then turns it into a touchdown. I think I lauded Stefanski for getting the ball in a less risky way to one of his playmakers. And, that you still have to do that. One of the things that I had to laugh a little bit about, Les, is that, all those guys that I know who've played pro football, all of them want to win badly. You'll have every once in a while, you'll have bad teammates that don't put as much into it as everybody else. But, you see OBJ on the sidelines and he's got his shoes off and he's walking around screaming or hollering at somebody or doing everything. And people go, well, that just shows you how bad he wants to win. Well, no, not really. I mean, everybody wants to win badly. Joe Thomas wanted to win badly all those years. Some guys just handle it better. And I think being 4-2 and 4-1 prior to this, that was the best thing that could happen with Odell Beckham Jr. on the team because he was in a winning situation, and he still is. But I question a little bit what happens if it starts going the other way with him.
Yeah, I mean, here he is. He's 4-2, and it's not like he's usually 5-1 at that point in the NFL season. So, he's got to remember who he is and where he's been also. I just look at the stats for the game, and it was almost like he wasn't there. And especially if you have guys hurt, you got to find a way to get him the ball and make him do what he does. So, how important let's take this two ways here. Number one, if you think you're a playoff contender, and if you don't think you are, how important is this game against Cincinnati on Sunday? Take it both ways.
I don't think winning in Cincinnati against obvious rebuilding team with a rookie quarterback, I don't think it necessarily stamps the Browns as a more serious playoff contender than what we think they might be already. But I do think falling on your face there, and we've seen them do it in Cincinnati a few times over the past few years. I think that could really be a wake-up call or an alarm going off for this team if they follow this loss with a loss to a team that they should be able to handle.
Right.
I think there'll be a lot of reason to worry about it at that point.
All right, so the AFC playoff picture is out. 5 games in the books. Steelers at 5-0, Titans 5-0, Chiefs and Bills at 4-1, Ravens at 5-1, Browns 4-2, Colts 4-2, Raiders 3-2, and the Dolphins are 3-3. Some of the games will take care of themselves because they play each other. But when you think about it, they're very much in this thing.
Yeah, they are. And just in looking at that list, Les, I think the Raiders are the only team that shows up on the schedule here in a few weeks. So it's a pretty good run of teams that they ought to be able to handle, or at least just say I would suspect that they'll go into those games being favored against almost all those opponents that I mentioned. And then by that I mean the Texans and the Eagles and the Jaguars and those teams.
And you didn't mention the Steelers still come into town the last week of the season.
Yeah, I'm not thinking they'll be favored to beat them at that point. And they still have to deal with going to Tennessee, which is a really tough place, as we know, and a good team. Vrabel, talk about a guy who might be coach of the year. It might be Mike Vrabel.
Could have been it last year.
Yeah.
All right, so you look at this, and nothing stands out to you to take them off the list. So if you're looking at them being in the top 10 as the season goes on, they're in as good a shape as most of the teams.
Yeah, I think so. And, again, a lot of this depends on what the state of the injury state is of the starting quarterback. If this rib thing is going to be something that bothers him through the next few weeks or up to the bye week, then I think that changes the dynamics quite a bit. I heard, Stefanski say today that Mayfield woke up feeling better today than he did last week at this time. So that's a good sign that he didn't re-injure anything except his pride, maybe.
Right. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Let's. Big news for Mr. Gullible.
What happened?
Well, we found some of his emails that he was complaining that we weren't playing him on purpose. So we found some, and then I got to throw Brian under the bus. He misplaced them last week, and we couldn't read them, and he thought that this was a plot, some kind of plot to bring his ego up, that we're going to play him and then bring it down when we don't. But so I did the only thing a guy should do at a time like that. I threw Brian under the bus.
Yeah, that's it's what every show host I've ever known would do.
Whatever it takes. All right, Smiley One. Right now, they're making it easy to invest in a new heating or cooling comfort system without breaking your budget. For a limited time, take advantage of the special financing, 36 months on select Bryant high-efficiency equipment. They make it easy for your family to stay comfortable all year long. Call Smiley One for more details and more information. We'll come on back in a moment. We'll check in with Mike Masetta, see what Mike's thinking. More Sports and Les Levine is powered by cleveland.com.
We're living in uncertain times, but you don't have to put your future on hold. At Tri-C, you can move ahead while staying safe and saving money. The majority of fall classes will take place online, but we've added a variety of formats to meet your learning needs, and we've taken many steps to keep you safe on campus. Whether you're ready to get started or your four-year plans have changed, check out Tri-C's programs and resources, because Tri-C is where futures begin.
Well, hello, everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about Browns Football Insider. For only $3.99 a month, you can get text sent right to your phone each day from me, Dan Lobby, Scott Pasco, and Ellis Williams. In addition to that, you'll receive a Football Insider newsletter every day with special things from us, things that you won't see anywhere else on the site. You'll get breaking news, analysis, features, film breakdown, and things like that. Texting us directly gives you a great chance to cut through the clutter of Facebook, Twitter, other social media, and avoid the trolls. Also, it's the only way to get your questions on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. So why should you sign up? Try a 14-day free trial. You can cancel at any time. All it takes is one text, but you won't want to cancel. We have hundreds of subscribers join us over the last year. They love it and have stayed with us. We're seeing the Football Insider community grow every week. And it's only $3.99 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day. What I like most about Football Insider is the opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and really communicate with you. So how can you become a Football Insider? You can click on cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page. Or easier yet, text me at 216-208-3965. Again, that's 216-208-3965.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Let's check out this date in sports history, October 19th, 1987. Billy Martin is named the Yankees manager for the 5th time. Do you ever have any discussions with him over the years, Bud?
I never did, Les. You know, I was out on the West Coast for a little while, so I got to be around Lasorda during his time with the Dodgers, but was gone from the Philly, New York area when Martin was the manager there, so I never did.
What an unbelievable situation that was. Not getting
It
fired,
really
coming back, getting fired, coming back. I mean, Steinbrenner and Martin were made for each other.
Yeah, it makes Mike Brown's various stays with the Cavs look like nothing, right?
Right, exactly. All right, birthdays. Let's check out birthdays for today. See who's celebrating. Sit down. Don't say anything. Webster Slaughter, former Brown player. Brad Doherty. Rajai Davis, remember him? Jose Bautista and Josh Tomlin. Saw Josh over the weekend. 216-575-0403. Big Cleveland Day as far as birthdays are concerned. Bud Shaw is with us. Tomorrow night, Mary Kay Cabot. Dennis Maniloff on Wednesday. And Anthony Lima will be here on Thursday.
Sports boy Tony, huh?
Yeah. Trying to track down Mike Masetta. We will get him shortly, and we will continue on. Let's talk baseball for a minute while we wait for Anthony. Any surprises here other than a lot of people will be rooting for the Tampa Bay Rays, I would think.
Yeah, no, I think it worked out pretty good for baseball. You know, they end up with a team that's never been near the top in payroll, plays the game the right way, and ends up outlasting a team that no one outside of Houston wanted to see advance to the World Series. So yeah. I think it could have been a problem had the Astros got in there, that, you know, a lot of people would feel like they weren't even sufficiently punished for the last time they were in there. So
exactly. Well, and Kevin Cash was the manager of Tampa Bay, was Indians bullpen coach just 3 years ago. Let's go out to Nature Stone. We'll say hi to Mike Masetta. It's not a floor. It's what? Anybody know?
Wow, it's Nature Stone.
That's what I was thinking. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing well, Les. How are you?
Good. Bud Shaw with us tonight.
Hey, Bud.
Your thoughts, like everybody else, on the Browns game yesterday, start to finish?
Well, I don't think I'm any different than anybody else. It was disappointing to see. Obviously, they're not at that level yet. I don't think that they're a bad team. You know, I think they just had a bad game, and they had it against a team that's really good right now. And you know, that happens in football. It happened with the Buffalo Bills last week when they got rolled by the Titans. So that, you know, that kind of thing happens in the NFL when you're playing against these great teams. But my takeaway from the entire game is that Baker Mayfield has a lot of work to do. He's not even close to where he needs to be as a quarterback, and he's showing signs of that over the first 5 games leading into the Pittsburgh game, but it hasn't hurt the team until the Pittsburgh game where it kind of just derailed.
I agree with that, but Bud, do we have to be in a situation where we grade Baker Mayfield almost pass in, pass out, game in, game out? Can't we just let the guy play and then look at it over the long period of time?
Yeah, I think that'll happen. But I think in the NFL, these quarterbacks get evaluated unless they've really established themselves with their organizations. They get evaluated almost every week. I'm on whether, especially a guy like him, Les, because at the end of this season, they're going to make a decision to either pick up his option or sign him to a long-term contract. And I think right now it looks like he'd be a guy that they'd want to pick up an option on right now. He just needs to show at some point this season that he's a guy that they can commit to for millions and millions of dollars.
Well, he better hope so. He better hope so, because I'm not sure there's a bunch of teams standing in line to do the same.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah,
God,
he's
Mike.
got the big progressive deal. They're tying themselves to Baker. He's got to play well.
Yeah, no question about that.
Yeah.
Mike, when you look at this team, you're not ready to panic yet, are you?
No, not at all. The Steelers are probably the best team in football right now on both sides of the ball. I mean, they're a really, really good team. They went into Pittsburgh, which even though the fans are limited, it's still going into Pittsburgh and playing a football game. And there wasn't a lot of good that you could take away from that game, certainly. But at the end of the day, it's one game, and they were 4-1 going into it. It would be different if they were 1-4 going into it, and they needed that game to get back into the standings or something, which is what we've seen for the last however many years prior to this. But they've played really well. Their defense had a rough game, but it wasn't all the defense. There were a lot of turnovers that turned into points for Pittsburgh, and it was just an overall kind of bad game.
All right,
and,
Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, I gave Bud some homework assignment. I'm going to see if he got it. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
All right, Bud, that stuff is not floor. What is it?
I'd have to say that it's boy, the dog ate my homework, Les. Wait, oh no, wow, it's Nature Stone.
Oh, you saved it. Kick saving a beauty.
I love it.
All right, Mike, great to talk to you as always.
You too, guys. Thank you
We'll
for
do it
the
again.
time.
We'll do it
Yeah,
again
Mike.
next week. Mike Masetta
All right.
from Nature Stone. Bud Shaw from budshaw.com. Let's take a break. We'll come back in a moment. Northeast Factory Direct, 3 great locations. Check them out. And they're near the airport. They're at the Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid and Freeway Drive. That's in Macedonia. NortheastFactoryDirect.com. More sports and less Levine is powered by cleveland.com.
Transform your home for the holidays with an authentic Nature Stone basement floor. Add more livable space, inhibit the growth of mold and mildew, and improve air quality for your family. It's the healthier, more beautiful basement floor that's easy to clean and never needs replaced. That's why it's backed by Russell's Promise. For a limited time, get more Nature Stone than ever before with up to half your basement floor free. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com to qualify for your free flooring. It's not just a floor.
Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
All right, let's take a look at our Facebook question of the day. And the question, what went wrong with the Browns yesterday? Glenn Berger says the Browns' offensive line was severely outplayed by the Steelers' defense. Mayfield didn't have adequate protection when he dropped back to pass. Steelers' offensive line opened holes for their running game. Andy Mees says Baker and Jarvis banged up as well, as OBJ missing practice time really hindered the passing game and had a snowball effect on the whole offense that allowed Pittsburgh to zero in on Hunt whenever he was in the game. And Lenny Obremski says what went wrong was the way it started yesterday. It started when management knew the linebackers and secondary were inferior and they ignored it. Bring back John Dorsey. He brought the talent onto the field that we do have. Lee Sutley says back to reality. But it's a little of all of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Lee hit it. I mean, I know Lee isn't getting into details when he says back to reality, but I do think there's a big part of it that is that, Les. They're not at the level of those two other teams. Is that a reason to lose by 31 and 32 points? No, obviously it's not. And that's probably what bothers people more than anything else. That they come out of Pittsburgh with a 38-27 loss, I think people would feel a lot differently about it. But I'll say this: other teams that had bad games yesterday, real bad games, including Aaron Rodgers and
that's
the Green Bay.
That surprised me. They went out to a 10-0 lead and it looked easy. They didn't have
so
it.
This is a tough league to look good every weekend, and we'll see. I think most people would agree that they've looked pretty good in 4 of the 6 weeks. Indianapolis and Dallas were 2 of those teams that we thought were going to be decent. Indianapolis, I think, still is. So it's just way too early to suggest that they're going to repeat some of the swan dives that we've seen the Browns commit here in previous years.
Let's go to the phones. BP is standing by in Pepper Pike. Hello, BP.
Hey, Les and Bud, how you guys doing today?
We're doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good. I mean, it was a very difficult day yesterday for the Browns. I predicted that they were going to lose, but like you just said, I think Bud said, I thought they were going to lose like 27-23.
Yeah.
At least play a respectable, competitive game. But that game was anything but that. And I mean, Baker Mayfield, blew it right off the start. And I think, again, Bud, said maybe, he can't even see, maybe he has problems seeing over the linemen, the offensive linemen and the defensive linemen. Maybe that's his biggest problem because, I mean, everybody in the world is like blasting him for that. That play was the end of the game. It was like the first pass of the game and it was the end of the game, basically.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think you hit it on the head, BP, that there's a lot of bad things in sports or boring things in sports. There's nothing worse than a blowout, an NFL blowout that starts early and often because there's just nothing, you might see an isolated play here or there, but who's going to sit around and watch and wait for that? And the answer is nobody.
Right. And I mean, like I said, you're not going to win all 16 games. And, there's no shame in losing to the Steelers on the road and the Ravens on the road. But, I think it is sort of it's a major eye-opener for even Stefanski. I saw no creative play calling. You've got to be creative against the Steelers. And I think the biggest problem is they're missing Nick Chubb, their best player on offense. And, this team, it's like if you played a Cavs NBA Finals game without Kyrie Irving, you're probably going to lose to Golden State. To me, it was like a similar comparison.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is playing at a really high level right now, and, you go in there without Nick Chubb, and, you're going to have a problem.
And you didn't have Wyatt Teller either.
And he's been playing it, I mean, according to the experts, I'm not an expert on the offensive line, but he's been playing at almost a Pro Bowl level.
If you were an expert, if you were an expert on offensive linemen, what would you do with that information?
Yeah, I don't know. I think John Greco. I don't know, but John Greco is on the radio, and I do, like that's the type of guy that would know, when he's talking about offensive line, I was listening because, he's, got a tremendous record and, he played in the league. But the Browns are also, these injuries are difficult. You know, they're missing, 3 starting safeties when you go back to the rookie Grant Delbit, and then Carl, who spells his name like Karl Marx, Carl Joseph.
I thought it was Groucho Marx.
I don't know how many guys spell Carl with a K, so I don't know.
I don't know.
Hey,
See how
BP,
it is.
I'm glad you brought Chubb up, because I do think that because Hunt's there, some people, I don't want to say have overlooked what the loss of Nick Chubb means to this team, but I think they felt that loss was mitigated because Hunt is is so good and has been a really productive back in this league.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
From a play calling standpoint, Les, I do think that crimps what Stefanski wants to do without both of those guys back.
I think a lot of fans think you have the stack of running backs and you have Chubb up on top and then a Hunt next, and Chubb gets hurt and you just move everybody up. It doesn't work that way because the fourth guy or third guy is not as good as the first guy, and it's just they're not replaceable parts.
Yeah, and those guys together are pretty dynamic pairing.
Anything else?
I think the offensive line today was really bad. I mean, Baker Mayfield is not as bad as they made him look. I mean, he was getting killed. I mean, I was cringing every time he dropped back to pass. And, I mean, he's lucky, he wasn't split in two yesterday. So, yeah, there's no way, I don't know how he can't get the ball open to Beckham or Landry or even, because there's not enough time. Yesterday was really a bad game for the offensive line. I don't care what anybody says.
All right, BP, we got to move. Thanks so much for the call. We appreciate it. If you want to call us and can't get in during the show because the lines are busy, you can use the voicemail of Truth and Reason, and that number is 216-200-6650. It is 216-200-6650, the voicemail of Truth and Reason. More Sports and Les Levine continues. One more time, we are powered by cleveland.com.
Transform your home for the holidays with an authentic Nature Stone garage floor. No more tripping on cracked, uneven concrete. Stop slipping on puddles and standing water. It's the safer, more beautiful garage floor that's easy to clean and never needs replaced. That's why it's backed by Russell's Promise. For a limited time, get more Nature Stone than ever before with up to half your garage floor free. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com to qualify for your free flooring. It's not just a floor.
Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tomorrow night, Mary Kay Cabot from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer joins us. Dennis Maniloff on Wednesday. Anthony Lima will be here on Thursday from 92.3 The Fan. This comes in from Paul in Erie, Pennsylvania. Les, watching some of the breakdown of play of Baker this weekend of the Steelers, it seems to go back to the same issues. He doesn't trust his vision, and the defenses are confusing him into mistakes. Some of these mistakes are very elementary. Is that fixable? After seeing the OBJ drama on the sideline can Baker keep the locker room? Last question. Don't you agree it's ridiculous to think that Case Keenum is better than Baker Mayfield? Yeah, it is ridiculous. It's good to have him around, but he's not a starter over Baker Mayfield. Bud, what about this? How about the drama? He calls it the OBG drama on the sideline. Will it force him to lose? Would it force Baker to lose his locker room?
No, I don't think so. I think, listen, I'll give Odell Beckham Jr. a little credit. He he wasn't feeling well this week. He got himself ready to play. He has always been very demonstrative when his team isn't playing well or falling short of where he thinks it is. If that continues week to week, I would have to, as a coach, take him aside and say, look, you're not alone here. Everybody wants to win. Stop making a spectacle of yourself. But I think so far this year, you'd have to say that he's been a very productive player and a good teammate so far.
I had a friend who worked in a glasses store, and he made a spectacle of himself quite often.
I hate to tell you this, Les, but I kind of knew that was coming.
All right, so I have a question here. This is a couple emails, quickies from Mr. Gullible.
Okay.
We lost them. We found them. We lost them again. We got them now in hand right here.
So
and
they might be.
I'm looking at them, and I'm saying this was not worth the argument he placed down. But you'll help me. That's why you're judging.
Okay.
How come?
Do I have to get an actual pad out and judge this?
No, you can verbalize it.
All right.
All right. How come if I could live my life over again, I would need a lot more money?
Okay, go ahead. Is that part of a?
That's one. No, that's one.
Okay.
You can give it a number.
I would not. I'm not. I wasn't impressed with that one. I'd give it about a 5.5.
Okay, that's good. All right, this one you got to use voices, and I don't do voices, but pretend you know what you pretend you know where the voices would be placed and how they would be placed.
All right.
How come when Romeo and Juliet realized they had no money to pay their dinner, Romy ate what Julie ate? Help. Let me see what I'm missing.
I don't know that voices could have saved that one. So.
How come when Romeo and Juliet realized they had no money to pay for dinner, Romeo owed what Julie ate?
Okay.
All right, is it a point that I didn't have the translation right, or I didn't have the wording?
It was better with the second reading, but I still would, I guess, if I had to pass judgment, I would say they are called quickies for a reason.
When it takes you 2 or 3 readings of it to even get it back into focus, they're called quickies, sir.
Exactly.
All right.
So those are the 2 that he thinks were thrown out for fear that they were going to get 10.0.
He thought there's some conspiracy theory against him. Well, there may be, but not in this case. I save the conspiracy for when you really need it. All right, next week we need a presidential prediction from you.
A presidential prediction?
A presidential prediction.
Well, we're not quite there yet for next week,
no, next
are we?
week. So you're here the night before the election, right?
All right, I'll stick my neck out again. I thought you wanted my Bengals prediction.
Oh, give me a Bengals prediction.
Browns 27, Bengals 17.
Okay, first of all, I hope you're right. But second of all, it's more important to get the other one right than that one. Given the choice, let's get the president right this time and go from there.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
Great job by our presidential reporter. And from the How Come Quickie department, how come no Heisman Trophy winner has ever won the Electoral College? That isn't it. That's not it at all. Oh.
Hey, you could do that one in any voice you want.
Yeah,
and
I got to work on that one. Okay, I got it. Oh, no more time. All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks to Bud Shaw, Mary Kay Cabot tomorrow. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.